Hi there, my name is Stephanie and today I'm going to teach you how to make a very functional beach bag for the summer. It has a big pocket for all your towels on the inside as well as 8 pockets that surround the outside for things like sunscreen, goggles, snacks, and all sorts of stuff to keep you organized at the beach. The supplies that you're going to need is for 45-inch fabric. You are going to have 1.2 meters for your outside fabric. You're going to need 1 meter for the inside lining of your pockets in your bag, and then 1.2 meters or 46 inches of webbing, which is for the handles. If you have 60-inch wide fabric, you need 0.8 meters for the outside, 0.8 meters for the inside, and again 46 inches or 1.2 meters of the webbing. I have used 1.5 inch wide webbing, but you could definitely make it wider or narrower to preference. Please print the free PDF pattern below this link and check for size for accuracy, and we'll get started. Your first step in assembling your beach bag is to take your pocket pieces. So you have your front pocket pieces that are longer, and then you also have your side pocket pieces as well. You are going to take your lining and you're going to place it good sides together. And you're going to just pin it along the top edge of your pocket. So I'm going to pin along from here all the way across there. We've left a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so you're going to sew just along the top edge, not down the sides, to finish off the top edge of our pocket. And then you're going to do the same to your side pocket pieces. So you're going to place them right sides together, and you're only going to pin across the top edge of your pocket, so from here across to there, and sew that following the 1/2 inch. So go ahead and do that for all 4 pocket pieces. Once you've sewn the top edge of each pocket, you're going to press the seam towards the good side of the fabric, not the lining of the pocket. It'll just sit nicer once we've turned the lining to the inside, so give that a nice press. And then you're going to take your pocket piece and actually just press that lining to the inside so that you don't see your lining sticking up. And then we're going to just go and top stitch this nice finished edge. So your lining will stay tucked to the inside, and then no raw edges will show. So go ahead, you can just follow the 10 line or the edge of the presser foot, whatever you prefer. And you're going to go and top stitch that nice finished edge of your pocket. When I top stitch, I like to increase my stitch length up to a 3. I do this so that it's a little bit longer of a stitch and it sits a little bit nicer on the surface of my fabric. So I have pressed all 4 of my pockets along that edge we just finished sewing with our lining. And now I'm going to either follow the edge of my presser foot or the 10 line all the way across to give it a nice top stitched finish. After top stitching your pockets, you're going to take your pocket piece, and your side pocket is just going to fit right on top of your actual side of your bag. And so the bottom edges, you're going to grab both the lining and the bottom of your pocket and line them up with the bottom of the bag. And these seams will all be covered with joining seams in a second, but you just want to place them on and just sew down the 10 line all the way along the 3 sides just to hold it as one, and then it'll be easier to assemble with the other bag pieces. And you're going to do the same with your main bag. You're going to take your big pocket, place it on top of your main bag, and do the same. Line up your bottom corners and 10 line along the 2 sides of your pocket and along the bottom. Now that we've sewn along the outside edges of our pocket, this is my big piece. So I have 2 of them. I have one for my front and one for my back of my bag, and right now it has one giant pocket there. We want to make it a little more functional and divvy up our pocket into 3 sort of separate pockets. I'm going to make mine all even sizes for this tutorial. However, this is how you can personalize your bag, and you can make your pockets have just 2 pockets. If you wanted to put one kind of a smaller pocket and one with a bigger pocket, that's totally your preference for the needs of your beach bag. Again, so for this tutorial, I'm going to end up making mine have 2 sewing lines, and so in the end I'll get 3 even pockets. So to do that, I'm going to actually make my first one 6 inches wide, my middle one 5.5, and my last one 6 inches. The reason is we're going to lose a 1/2 inch of seam allowance to sew our bag to the side seam. So that will actually shrink this pocket and that pocket to be the 5.5, which our middle pocket is already measured to be. Okay, so this is a 6-inch ruler. I'm using a friction pen. They're awesome because they disappear with the iron, the heat of the iron. I'll show you that in a second, but I enjoy them because they have a sharp tip for marking. They come in multiple colors, and they don't stain. Sometimes chalk doesn't come out. So I'm going to give myself this nice purple line, because this is going to become my stitching line that I actually sew on. So I'll just make sure it shows that. So there's my first line. So that one's done at 6. And then I'm going to come over here and do it the opposite here. And that should give me a 5.5 inch pocket on the other, in the middle. Because this is a 17.5 wide bag. So here's my 6 again. And I'm going to give myself my second line. And then before I sew it, I could do that. I could just check my measurement, and yeah, it is. It's 5.5 inches is my middle pocket. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew down my lines. I'm going to back stitch there, come up and make sure I do a back stitch at the top, because we will be pulling on our pockets when we put things like sunscreen and goggles and all those sorts of things in our pockets. So you want to do that. You can personalize your pockets to be whatever size you would like. So go ahead and make your pockets. I wanted to show you how these friction pens work. You might not see my line disappear so much on my print here. I'll show you on a white piece of fabric in a second. But what you do is you just put your iron on top, and as soon as heat hits it, goodbye, that goes that line. So I don't think it will pick up as clear in this video, but my lines are instantly gone. So I'm going to show you with my lovely press cloth. So I have just my white press cloth hanging around. I'm using my friction pen, and if I was doing a marking on my pattern, like a dart or whatever, you would mark it, and then as soon as you add heat to it, it just is magic. It goes away. So these I use for my rocket book. It's my sort of erasable notebooks, but they're by Pilot, and they're called friction pens, and you can get them on Amazon. I highly recommend them for sewing. I've really enjoyed using them for marking. So I'm just ironing out now my markings from where I made my pockets on my front of my bag. So now we're actually going to put the base of our bag together. So we have 2 leftover pieces that are our base of our bags. You are going to put your main bag face up, your base face up, and all you're going to do is flip them right sides together along that bottom seam, and you're going to pin from here all the way across to there and sew it at a 1/2 inch, and then we'll press it down. It will hide our raw edge of our pocket as well. Once your base has been stitched onto your bag, you're going to press your seam allowance so the seam allowance goes down, and then we're going to replace it with a top stitch so it sits nicely. I like to follow the edge of my foot, so I'll show you that. So I have the base of my bag right here and my main bag here, and my seam allowance is pressed down, and all I'm attaching is the base to my seam allowance right now. It allows that seam to sit flat, and I'm going to follow the edge of my foot with the edge of my seam all the way down so that it holds that seam allowance flat and makes our bag sit a little bit smoother. Next step is you're going to take your side pocket and your side of your bag, and you're going to place it face down on top of your main bag, and then you're just going to pin from the top down, making sure that your pockets match at the top, so that when you actually sew it, so you've pinned the other side on as well. I have both of my side bags onto the same bag front. And when I do that and line up my pockets, they will open and they'll match across here. So I'll have a side pocket of my bag as well. And then go ahead and press those seams nicely so that you have one big piece, and we will attach our other bag back shortly. So I'm now going to make almost like a circle out of my pieces. So I have a side of the bag, the bag front, another side of my bag, and now I'm going to take my bag back and put it right sides together, and I'm going to place it on top of my side bag here, and again lining up my pocket edges, I'm going to pin all the way down and sew it to this side, and then I'm going to pull over this side all the way over to this side bag and do the same there. And what I've kind of got is this big sort of circle of pieces. I haven't sewn my bottom. I've just made a circle out of my bag. So I hope this makes more sense now. Basically, I have a whole circle where my front and my back join my two sides on either edge. So now I'm going to actually pin my bottom of my bag. So that's the bottom where we had our base, and I'm going to just line the bottoms up. I'm not going to sew down my sides. So I'm just going to lay them right sides together, and I'm going to start from this end all the way across to that end right here, and sew that at 4/8. Okay, we're not sewing up our sides right here or right here. We're just staying along that bottom piece right there. So this is what you should have now, is that was the bottom seam of my bag where I just sewed together, and I have not sewn up my little sides. The reason is now we almost have these L's to our bag. These are our side pieces that are just sort of folded in half, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your L, and I'm going to just pull my side of my bag flat. So now my side of my bag is nice and flat, and my base will intersect the bottom of my beach bag. And I'm going to pin it just straight across this bottom, and following 4/8 I'm going to sew right across there, and that's going to give your bag the depth and dimension. And this way it's just easier than trying to sew a square in along your bottom and trying to pivot at the corners. That's a tough skill if you're a beginner. So these sort of L corners is a nice easier way to create depth to your bag. We are now going to move on to the lining of our beach bag. You should have 2 pieces cut from the lining pattern, and you're going to place them good sides together, and then we're just going to sew down 3 sides. So we're not going to sew along the top of our bag. We want to leave that open. We're going to start and pin down from here all the way down to your corner here, following the 1/2 inch. Do not sew in the L's. So then you're going to start again here, and you're going to sew to about the middle. I'm going to give myself a little chalk line here, and then about a handprint opening, or a generous handprint, because we need to flip our bag. So this is not going to be sewn, and then you would start again right here and go across to there. Don't sew your L, and then you're going to go here up the other side. Okay, so basically your 2 sides you're sewing, and then your bottom you're going to sew across the bottom, but leaving between your little handprint open to flip. After you've sewn your sides and your bottom of your bag and leaving that opening, you're going to take that L that hasn't been sewn, and you're almost going to pull the middle parts of the L apart. So I'm just going to pull them away from each other so that side dimension kind of comes together. This will give your bag some depth. And now I'm going to line up my seams right there, and I'm going to pin across this bottom. And again, at the 1/2 inch line on your sewing machine, you are going to start from this side all the way across to this side, and then you're going to do the same to the other L on this side of the lining. So I've cut 2 of my webbing pieces to be 23 inches long. I'm using 1.5 inch wide webbing. That is also a preference. You can have a bit wider or a narrower one. To make your straps a little bit more durable so they don't fray out after you sew them and potentially then rip, I burn the edges of my webbing. So I'm just going to take my lovely match or lighter, and I'm going to torch just so it melts it. It almost seals the edge. I'll try to put this close up so you can see it. And so it kind of melts that edge and seals it, and it makes it stronger once it's sewn in. You won't see that edge. That will be hiding between our outside fabric and our lining. But I would do that to all 4 ends, the 2 ends on each strap. Now that you've finished melting the ends of your webbing, we're going to pin our straps to our bag. So your straps go on the right side of your bag. I've landmarked my middle, and the way I did that was I was just folding my bag from where it joins the side piece to where it joins the side piece on the other side, and I matched those seams, and then I put a pin in to landmark that middle piece so that your straps are centered when you pin them on. I have spaced mine 7 inches in total apart. So I've measured 3.5 inches from my center pin and placed my one strap, and then I've measured 3.5 inches the other way, and I've just ensured that my strap is not twisted as I've pinned it to the other side. So your strap should hang down and your raw edges should be even at the top. And so now you're just going to backstitch, go across backstitch following the 10 line or the 3/8 line. It's the same guide on your throat plate so that those can be sort of reinforced before we insert our lining. Your final step to the beach bag is to take your lining again. I have mine wrong side out and I have my beach bag right side out. So all I'm going to do is drop my outside of my beach bag into the lining of my bag. So I'm dropping this big guy all the way in to my lining like that. So that right sides together will be facing each other. And then I also want to make sure that my straps are tucked in. So don't let them flip back up. I would keep them tucked in between the lining and the outside bag. And now your seams, because we didn't have a side panel on our lining, your seams should fit right in the middle of our sides. So just like you found the middle on your front for your straps, you're going to just hold it seam to seam. Find your middle on your side of your bag and put a pin in there, and that is where your seam is going to line up. Okay, and then I will do it to the other side as well, and then I'm going to pin all the way around so that my edges are even, and I'm going to sew at the 1/2 inch line, and I'm going to complete the whole entire circle all the way around because we left that hole in our lining at the bottom so that we can flip our bag right side out through there. When sewing around a circle, most machines have an accessory compartment that comes off and it exposes your free arm. This is quite handy to be able to put around half of your circle and squeeze it underneath, and then it'll rotate around, and then you're not worried about getting your top and bottom of your bag sewn together. So now you can easily maneuver it, and sewing at the 1/2 inch line, go around the whole circle of the top of your bag. It is now time for the grand reveal. Go digging in that hole of our lining that we left and just slowly kind of turn your bag out through that hole, just a little bit at a time, and kind of giving it a pull and it will eventually just pop right out. So keep working at that, keep giving it a pull, and then we'll press along the top edge. Once you have flipped your bag right side out, you're going to tuck your lining into your bag, and then you're going to give the top edge a really nice iron so that the lining does not stick out the top edge. We're going to finish off the top edge with a top stitch, very similar to what we did when we attached our lining to our pockets. We're just going to put it in starting at your side seam and following the 3/8 or the 10 line all the way around the top edge. This will help keep your lining always to the inside and not coming out to the outside. So go ahead and top stitch all the way around the top of your bag, obviously keeping your straps up and not letting them bend down when you're top stitching. I'm sure everybody's pretty excited that their beach bag is almost all finished. The last thing we have to do is sew up that hole. So pull out your lining, and you are going to just pin it so it looks like your raw edges are tucked in, again about a 1/2 inch, and just butt up those two edges so you have two folds touching each other. Put some pins in there, and then we're going to machine stitch across. So just starting, a 1/2 inch past where the hole starts with a little back stitch all the way across to about a 1/2 inch past where the hole ends. And this is edge stitching, so this is not on 3/8 or the 10 line. This is sort of more at 1/8, so really close to the two folds. You want to aim to sort of be kind of right there, not down there, because then you're going to get like a little flapper and maybe not catch your seam allowance. So go ahead and do your last step, seal up that hole, and tuck your lining right back into your bag. You are now done your beach bag. Way to go. You are going to be organized on the beach, bringing all your sunscreen, bug spray, goggles, snacks, and of course your towels can all fit in one bag, and you'll look trendy and organized while doing it. So thank you for watching and following along the tutorial. Please like and subscribe for more easy to do projects.